What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talk Trash, back for another episode of Loving Wrestling on Fightful Overbooked. This time, I'm joined by a name you know, wrestling media personality, Ella J. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you again, obviously on a new show, but I love wrestling, so I can't wait to talk about it.
So you brought up there the fact that you love wrestling.
I do.
Do you remember the moment that you were like, wrestling's my thing now. I love this.
Yes. My I guess wrestling anniversary is coming up next month, actually. It'll be 14 years. Where I stumbled upon it by accident because I was just kind of scrolling through channels on a Friday night. This was when I was in middle school. I would have been going into 7th grade. So I was like super awkward and introvert, was not really popular, whatever. Like I didn't have plans on a Friday night. So it was Friday Night SmackDown. I was scrolling through channels. I see this guy with cool face paint. It's Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk in a loser leaves town match in a steel cage. It was actually Jeff's last match, like before he came back in 2017 to WWE. And I just remember like I feel like perfect way to explain it is like charismatic enigma. He really was so charismatic and cool and in high flying and doing all of this stuff. And even just my first time seeing him, but then like, he was saying he made the goodbye speech after and the crowd was like really emotional. And even though I had only been watching him for a couple of minutes, I was already like emotionally invested in him. And then, so from there, I watched Friday Night SmackDown. Through there, it was like CM Punk, this like Batista, Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, John Morrison, kind of that 09, 2010 era. DX was on there too occasionally. So it was Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk. And I never thought I'd say, but 14 years later, there is a possibility for a rematch of CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy, which I never would have imagined, but it's an actual real possibility now. So I'm still crossing my fingers that happens in AEW.
I never actually put two and two together there, but like, yeah, that is possible, isn't it now? Like, wow.
I'm crossing my fingers. John Morrison, Johnny Television is also now in AEW. So like Jeff versus John might rekindle their Intercontinental Championship rivalry. There's a lot of intriguing possibilities from my childhood that I never thought would get to come back to life.
I can see the tweet now because you're quite good with wrestling tweets. AEW has just I'm probably going to butcher it, but just a tweet of like AEW just recreated my childhood and I love it. I can imagine.
Yeah.
You
Oh
putting
no.
something like that out.
I've tweeted it out before that I'm manifesting it. I'm ready when and if they announce that, I'm gonna have the tweet ready.
So you talked about the moment and like the CM Punk Jeff Hardy rivalry, the steel cage, that moment that made you love wrestling. Was that also the match that made you love wrestling, do you think?
The match, I think that got me hooked on it. I don't know if I like loved it. I don't know if there's like a specific match that made me love wrestling. I think it's more the storylines and the characters, because again, during this time, to kind of peel back the curtain, like um did not have good like mental health back then. I had a lot of like insecurities and stuff. And so people like D-Generation X, like Shawn Michaels and Triple H, them coming over to SmackDown and being really funny. This was towards the latter. This was literally their last like 6 months together as DX before Shawn retired. So like them doing all these funny skits, like just like gave me an escape for it. And then obviously, it's kind of a negative thing going into it, but the whole like Piggy James storyline, like I felt like I related to Mickey and all the body insecurities and kind of the bullying and like all that stuff kind of to go with it. So I really like related to her and I was rooting for her. And then, she prevailed at the Royal Rumble the next year, beating Michelle McCool for the women's championship. So for me, it was like, it's kind of transcending reality. I saw myself in her and like, I was rooting for her. And so for me, I guess it was more the characters than like a specific match, I think, that made me love wrestling. And then obviously I'm a sports person. I played sports like all my life growing up. So for me, it also brought in this cool sports element to it. So I think mostly gave me an escape and I got kind of invested in the characters, I think.
I understand what you're saying completely there, because not to talk about myself, but I'd say I'm very similar when it comes to things like when it comes to characters over moves.
Yeah.
Is the way I'll phrase it. You brought up something there that I find very interesting about insecurity and stuff like that. With everything you've done in the wrestling media and how hard you work, what do you still get insecure when an interview goes live, for one? And what do you do to sort of combat that inner voice of insecurity sometimes, if you're
I don't
comfortable
know.
talking about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I per se get insecurities like when interviews go live. I think I've gradually become more confident in my interviewing skills and like my questions to it. I feel like I'm more nervous going into them for specific ones anyway. I feel like for the most part, I've kind of chilled out. I've gotten into a rhythm. I've gotten more confident in my ability to put together interviews and then deliver on it, even if I'm like nervous. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm kind of nervous when they come out or I have insecurities. I'm actually really proud of them because it's my favorite thing to do. But I definitely still have insecurities to, comparing myself to others. It's like, oh, why is so-and-so getting this guest? It's like, I want to talk to this person, so for me, it's kind of more an inner thing than it has to do with the actual interviews. Like I was saying off air, I feel like we're all our own kind of worst
Yeah,
critics.
definitely.
And so I feel like, I'm definitely grateful for like a lot of, some of the opportunities. And I definitely feel like I've grown a lot in the last year. Like I just celebrated my 4-year podcasting anniversary. And again,
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you. This started out as a hobby and is now full time. So for me, that itself is huge growth. But I think we all have our own, internal things we want to accomplish, but then wrestling is so saturated and you see all these other people doing all these cool things and that's great for them, but I feel like, people maybe don't like to talk about it, but I feel like jealousy is like a real thing, it's a natural thing, but you can't let it overwhelm you and kind of, dictate your whole thing. It's natural to feel that, let that absorb that, then try to fuel it and not let it turn into a really negative thing, like spewing hate. Rather, you should, I feel like, kind of turn it into motivation. That's hard sometimes, honestly, but I feel like that's definitely my biggest insecurity is like comparing myself and my success to others. I know have leaps and bounds to go. I'm only 4 years into this. But I feel like we're all our own worst critics when it comes to like our progress or maybe lack of.
You brought up there, and you are 100% that we all are our own worst critics. And you did bring up there about not comparing, that's the wrong one, like comparing yourself to where others are in their journey, even though you might be far along in your journey.
Yeah.
So I tried to segue this, but it may not work. Who are the 5 people in wrestling media currently that you're like, they're doing amazing work? You should check them out. They deserve their flowers. And that was a terrible segue. I do apologize.
I just want to clarify that these are people that I respect and I enjoy their work. I look up to them. One is definitely one that I feel like we mutually kind of look up to, and he has graciously not taken me under his wing, but he's definitely helped me a lot throughout this last year, and that's Sean Ross Sapp, especially as I'm doing like my first WWE like media row, this year. It was very last minute. Thank God he was there. He's definitely given me some opportunities too. He has been there for me for advice and even sometimes asked me for stuff, which is crazy to think about. He is, I feel like, kind of like one of the standards in wrestling right now. So it's been cool to kind of build a good relationship with him. Similarly on that same wavelength is definitely Denise, Denise Salcedo. She's been one, like, I feel like she is like kind of the woman right now in especially wrestling media, and it's ironic because again, she started in like the entertainment industry, and she still does that. But I feel like she's kind of streamlined a lot of her work into wrestling. She is a workhorse, waking up at I think it's like 4 a.m. on Saturdays to host Busted Open Radio because she's on the Pacific time zone. She has an insane work ethic. So I definitely look up to her in that regard. Definitely 2 people that I still look up to, and they were 2 of the big influences early on, is Chris Van Fleet and Alicia too. Those are 2 of the 3 people that really propelled me to start podcasting in the first place and then, do more interviews and stuff. Chris again is Mick Tyson entertainment with wrestling. He has his own like studio and podcast. That's like my dream,
Oh
is to
yeah.
like host a podcast, like, and just to like not just be able to do that, but like have that be your main thing, like hosting and interviewing. Like that's the big dream. Like, and he's done it. He's done so many things and is so knowledgeable and has built up his resume. It's amazing. I think he's interviewed The Rock like, or it's one of them, The Rock or John
9
Cena, like
times?
7 or I thought it was like 7 or 8 at this
I
point.
think
I
it
don't
might
know.
actually be up to 10 now
Yeah,
after
but
after
still,
the
like,
baby thing.
and like interviewing The Rock would seem like a once in a lifetime thing. He's done it like 8 times now, or whatever the number is. And Alicia, again, she balances music with wrestling. She's one of wrestling's hottest free agents right now. She still continues to grind, whether it's hosting. She did a little bit of wrestling too when she was with the Worsties. She's been in MLW. She's been on the AEW Impact stage. That's huge. And then I feel like I have to kind of, you said 5. I feel like the last one has to be somebody who I have worked closer with in the last, coming up on 2 years, Alyssa Marino. I wouldn't call myself an expert on it, but I've been doing some commentary the last kind of 2 years for Capital Championship Wrestling. I'm still kind of gaining my footing in it because I only do it about once a month, and it's remote. But she's somebody who has experience, again, was a backstage interviewer, correspondent for NXT. She has a lengthy resume, like going all across the indies, hosting, doing everything. So I feel like those 5 people I really look up to, and with a lot of them, I've kind of been able to build a good rapport with, I think. So I'm kind of really grateful for that.
That's very cool. This is gonna sound like I'm blowing smoke, but if I was to do this, like flip the script on myself, you would definitely be on the list of the 5 people that I'd be like, yeah, I've seen her come a long way, and she has definitely helped me a lot. You know that. Like I feel like I've slid into your DMs a few times and been like, can I do this? Like,
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really have all the answers to everything because I'm still figuring things out myself. But I definitely try to help out where I can.
And I always appreciate that. You know that. But to bring this back to your love of wrestling, who do you love watching wrestling alongside?
Repeat that.
Who do you love watching wrestling with? I don't know why I phrased it so.
Oh, with. Okay, so me and my friends, for like, there's pay-per-views every month. Me and my friends have kind of a group chat, and so we will like have watch-alongs with each other, like at least once, because there's a pay-per-view every month, at least once or twice a month. We watch SmackDown, honestly, pretty much almost every week too, as well, together. So we pretty much weekly have a meeting on Discord. Chris Riddle, Jose, if you guys have seen me, kind of knows some of my friends. Emily J is in there too. Watch a lot with her. Just kind of the group chat is called the Riddle Squad. It's after Chris Riddle, shout out to him. He just made a bomb. I don't want to swear in here, but he just made a bomb ASS video for Trish Stratus, like a video package, and she used it. So that was huge for him. He's awesome. But I have a lot of fun, kind of taking a step back because I feel like I kind of get lost. I'm so in the zone of like working that I feel
That
like
was going to be my next question.
Because it's hard, especially for me, to go to live events or watch events and like not work. Like it's hard for me to just sit back and enjoy it without feeling inclined to like live tweet about it or share my thoughts. I don't remember the last time I've honestly just sat back and enjoyed, like actually just straight up enjoyed a wrestling show. But they make it a lot more fun, definitely.
I understand what you're saying completely there. So if you say you haven't just sat back and watched a wrestling show in a long time because of your work, how do you keep your fandom alive and make sure that like I'm still a fan? This isn't just my job now.
Yeah, that's hard, too, because I think I'm working upwards of at least 60 hours a week, kind of. So it's sometimes hard, and I consciously take efforts. There's nights where there's wrestling on, where I will not watch it because I just feel like I need a breather. But to keep my fandom alive, I honestly watch a lot of YouTube videos of like I don't know, like just for example, like R-Truth funny moments. Like I was watching that last night. I'll watch a lot of like old YouTube clips, or go on. I want to say WWE Network. It's Peacock. I'll go back and watch some of like my favorite like events and stuff. So I guess I have. I guess I have gone back and watched some things with just enjoying it, but watching it live, I
Like
haven't.
the current stuff.
Yeah,
I
the
get what you're
current
saying.
stuff in a while I have not just sat down and just enjoyed it. But I'll go back and watch a lot of the old stuff and kind of keep that alive. Things whether it's characters I like or funny moments or related to that, or just watch interviews of my favorite superstars. I like to do that. Yeah, it's in my off time that, I feel like maybe it's silly, but like I would just honestly watch random YouTube videos of like old matches or old moments or countdowns, or I'll watch a lot of my favorite content creators that are from wrestling that kind of keep that alive. They have funny banter or they have different perspectives. So kind of do a couple things to keep it alive.
That's very cool. So we talked about there how you keep your fandom alive. What would you do, like whether it be for work or just as an overall fan, if you did wake up one day, say something happened in a storyline, or just your mindset changed and you were like, I don't think love wrestling anymore.
I'm gonna be honest that kind of happened 2020, when all the speaking out stuff came out.
I think you and
um
I had discussed this before last
yeah,
time you was
there
on,
there
yeah.
was there was a period of time. This happened less than a year after I started podcasting. I, you know, we don't know into the media side. I've learned some more stuff about it, like behind the scenes stuff. But like that was just like truly heartbroken, and it felt like the one thing you love had kind of betrayed you. But I feel like you wouldn't really know if you're just a fan, like myself at that time, you would have had kind of no idea. So there was definitely a period of time where I was contemplating, like, do I still want to continue to do this? It was a tough time, and it's still an ongoing issue, with everything.
Hmm.
What was the initial question though? What would I
Like,
do?
yeah, look, what would you do if you woke up one day and was like, I don't think I love this as much as I once did anymore?
Um, I think if I ever come to that point where wrestling is like not fun, and I will admit there's definitely moments where I'm like, oh, like I just want to be like done with stuff, but I feel like that's natural for everybody. I kind of do technically have a degree to fall back on. I could always go back to graduate school.
I
I
know it's a
technically
bachelor's, but I can't remember in what.
It's bachelor's in psychology. To
Yes,
pretty
it
much
is.
do anything with psychology, though, you kind of have to have at least a master's. And I minored in creative writing. So technically, I have a degree to fall back on, but I would kind of have to go for more schooling, I feel like. Or I don't know, I would maybe just go back into retail until I figured things out. I haven't really thought much about it because I don't really want to think about it because I've only been full time less than a year now.
No, I understand.
But I definitely have a couple options at the very least, if God forbid anything happened.
I don't want to end on the question that I end on normally. So we're going to do this. No,
Okay.
actually, we will do it the normal way around. But basically, what we talked about what keeps your fandom alive a bit. But what are three moments, three moments from the past of wrestling that you love, and then three moments from the current product as we record this in July 2023? You're like, yeah, I love that. That's why I love wrestling.
Can you define past and current? Is there like a cutoff time period?
So I would say anything happening as we record this now. For example, Blood and Guts is tonight
Hmm.
as we
Yeah.
record this, and then anything past would
Hmm.
be. I I mean I might be defining it wrong, but like I would even consider Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega as past. Do you
Fair.
know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. So I'm gonna be honest, like there was, everybody talks about like the disappointment. I wouldn't say everybody, but I feel like a lot of people, including myself, talk about the disappointment of WrestleMania Night 2, the ending. But honestly, WrestleMania Night 1, and there aren't many moments where I feel like I've cried in professional wrestling. I cried after Night 1 of WrestleMania concluded. Because I would say after Theory and Cena, like the rest of that night, like the men's tag team gauntlet, it was what, Dominic and Ray, Charlotte and Rhea, the Usos tag team. Who else was on night 1?
I can't remember.
Was it Trish, Becky? Yeah, Trish, Becky, that tag team match against Damage Control. I believe that was night 1. That whole night 1, I would say after Cena and Theory, was so good. So good. And I feel like I have not watched a wrestling show where overall, like, I'm legit like emotionally invested in it. There was a lot of high flying moments, in that WrestleMania showcase. A lot of us going into it were like, what? But then that men's WrestleMania showcase was so good. Charlotte and Rhea was so hard hitting, and the crowd was really into it. And then the storyline of the Usos, the emotions, Sammy and Kevin dethroning the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. Just that whole night, like after Cena and Theory. Trust me, I love Cena too. The match itself, is Theory low blowing him, but after that, like, God, that had to have been the best wrestling event that I have seen in a long damn time. I legit cried after that. Like that is why I love wrestling, is WrestleMania Night 1 after Cena and Theory.
Hey, anyone tells Ella she's not passionate about wrestling anymore, ask her about WrestleMania Night 1.
Yeah, I was legit crying, and I tweeted that. That was, oh my gosh. Moments too, anybody who knows me knows that, I've been a Mickie James fan since like the beginning. After she got released from WWE, it was like so emotional, and like, I know her on a personal level and professional level. So for me, it hit harder. But when she won Glory, when she won that title, I feel like it was like vindication, for all the stuff that, she got released, was heartbroken. She had fought for so many things, and then to only be released, she had NWA Empower, which the maybe that's my third one, but like the feeling in that air, like being there that night, was just so magical. Like seeing all these women, like hashtag women's wrestling matters, just being there. And like women's wrestling is something that I've been trying to push in spotlight. Just being there was so awesome. And then later, a couple months, seeing Mickie defeat Deonna to gain her first major championship in what, 11 years? No, not 11 years. Like 8 years. Yeah, I was thinking WWE, but then I remember TNA after. It's like 8 years. Like was real vindication. She still got it. And then she won it again, at Hard to Kill. So I feel like those are definitely 3, I guess, past. Currently, oh my gosh, there's so much going on currently right now. Blood and Guts is tonight. That's gonna be a huge matchup. I will
say this: it's only tonight as we record this, because I do not know when Jeremy's gonna air this.
Yeah. So again, we don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's exciting. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of blood definitely between the Elite and the BCC and all of that.
Do we see guts, do you reckon? I'm sorry, I had to ask that.
I mean, I feel like now Jon Moxley has an excuse to kind of level up. We've already seen the blood. Now he has an excuse to kind of show guts, I guess. Me personally, I'm kind of a squirmy person when it comes to real blood. Like, I love horror stuff, but I feel like I know it's all,
yeah.
But that's gonna be exciting. I'm also really excited about it hasn't been made official yet, but like SummerSlam's on the cusp right now. Bianca versus Charlotte versus Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship. I think if it should be made official, I think it will. That's going to be a banger of a match. And also, like, I don't know who's going to win. Charlotte has a SummerSlam streak. I think she's 5-0 at SummerSlam. So people are like, Charlotte's going to win. And then other people are like, Bianca could win it back, but then other people are like, Asuka's gonna retain. So you really don't know what way it's gonna go. But I think those three in one match together, Bianca's never beaten Charlotte one-on-one. So technically she could just pin Asuka to technically defeat Charlotte. But I think that's gonna
that's what
be
they'll do. I think that's
I
what
don't
they'll
know what they're
do.
gonna do. I could see
And
it going
then
any way.
the only reason I say I think that's what they'll do is because I think they want that moment of Bianca defeating Charlotte to be a big one-on-one occasion.
Yeah.
That's just I've watched a lot of wrestling conspiracy theory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited for it. And then third currently, at the time of recording this, we're gonna kind of have, I would assume we'll have some celebration for Trinity's victory of winning the Knockouts championship at SummerSlam. I haven't read the spoilers yet from the tapings, but I assume there's gonna be some celebration or something. But also like Deonna Purrazzo, she has had one hell of a story since leaving WWE and then going to Impact Wrestling, taking a chance on herself. She has carved such a great legacy in only 3 years. It's just over 3 years since she arrived to Impact. So she's been carrying that torch. She's been a constant at Impact, but now to kind of, Deonna's definitely not done, but to kind of now pass that to Trinity, again, somebody kind of like a Mickie James, she left on, not the best of terms, and then to see not only Mercedes, but herself now capture world championships. It's Trinity's first world championships in 6 years. It's been a long time since she's held singles gold
Long ago, really?
anywhere.
Wow.
So I'm excited to see Impact feel the glow. And also shout out to Deonna Purrazzo. I adore her personally, but she's also been another great constant in the Impact Knockouts division too.
That's very cool. And guys, if anyone tells Ella she's still not passionate about wrestling anymore, just watch this segment of this episode.
Yeah, I don't think I would be working
you.
as many hours as I am if I wasn't passionate about it, to be honest.
No, but based on the conversation you and I were having off camera, I'm a bit like, yeah, you're still definitely passionate about wrestling.
Yeah.
I can tell that. But as we wrap this up, Ella, the question that I end this show on is, do you believe you will always love wrestling?
I hope so, but I've also I've gone through other fandoms where I was obsessed with stuff, and then it just, not that I don't love it anymore, but it's slowly faded. I'm not as into it as I have been. I hope so, but I was the biggest baseball fan for the longest time. I gradually kind of stepped away from it. I still like it, but I'm not as invested in it as I used to be.
Do you think that's just, sorry to interrupt,
You're
but
good.
do you think that's just with how busy you are though?
This kind of, maybe I feel like maybe it kind of started waning because my favorite players were retiring. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But that happened before I even started doing wrestling media and all of that. This is 2015, 2016 ish when I kind of started falling off a bit from it. Maybe it has to do with, because again, my favorite people maybe retired. But I've seen it with other stuff with myself where I'm obsessed with this one thing and I'm so invested in it, but then it's just meh. So I hope I always love wrestling, but also I know people go kind of in and out of things. Again, there's so many unpredictable stuff because wrestling blurs of reality and kayfabe, as they say. There's a lot of factors, so I hope I'll always love it. But I don't think I can say that I don't know if I'll always love it, to be honest. But I hope I do.
That's a very cool answer, and one that we really haven't had since I started doing this show. So that's very cool to hear in some ways, to be totally honest, and a very honest answer, which I think is very cool as well. So as we wrap this up, Ella, where can the good people find you, your content, etc.? Thank you for coming on. This has been amazing as always.
Thank you for having me. And the easiest way to follow me is on Twitter, where I'm most active. It's breaking my heart that it's kind of becoming not unbearable, but there's just a lot of things going on there. But you can follow me at It's Ella J. If you go to the link, it's not a link tree anymore. It's my milkshake in my bio. It's basically just a link in my bio where all my links to all my podcasts and writing and all my socials are all in one convenient place.
It's well worth doing, guys. I said this to the lovely Ella off camera, someone that's incredibly good at what she does, someone that's always been incredibly nice to me. So make sure you show her some support. But if you guys like this guy, if you guys like this episode, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Fightful Overbooked on YouTube. Follow Fightful on Twitter and all their socials. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tom Talks Rubbish, where I interview the greats in wrestling media about their overall fandom and how they balance it as a content creator and like where they feel their fandom has taken them and things like that. This lovely person has been on the channel twice. I think it's twice, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's twice. And follow me on Twitter at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.